Putting a poster on the wall that tells your team your values isn't going to improve your business culture. Most leaders these days understand that they should probably define some values that they want the business to live by. And most leaders know that their brand, how they show up as a business, is as important as what they do. However, as you grow your team, it can be hard to make sure that everyone demonstrates the values and the brand. Yet failing to do so will dilute your business over time, making it less special, becoming like all the others in your space, less profitable, less attractive to be employed by, and less likely to be talked about. So how do you do it? Well, you need to thread that magic, your values, your brand, throughout your processes, training, and ways of working. Welcome to De-Stress Your Business, the podcast where we show you how to get incredible results in your business without constant stress. I'm Alexis Kingsbury, a serial entrepreneur and founder at AirManual. Values are the beliefs and resulting behaviors that you want to see in your business. Now, in episodes 28 and 29 of this podcast, that feels like a very long time ago now, we went deep into why core values are a game changer and who should create a set of simple core values and exactly how to do that. Now, the reality is that your business does have core values, whether they're written down or not. To illustrate that, for example, if a team member of yours works late every day and does that over the entirety of the next week and at the weekend, and then talks openly about it to everyone else, how will that go down? What will their manager say about that? Will that be a good thing or not? Now, that all depends on the values of the business, the beliefs that leaders have, and as a result, their team members have, and how they act on those. So if it's considered a good thing, your leaders would praise it. Say, oh, well done, John. Thanks for going the extra mile here. And oh, can I just recognize John for doing these extra hours? And that will encourage that value of long hours and going further and push and be there all the time. And that will encourage other team members to do it. And people that feel uncomfortable with that will be repelled from the business, and people who are comfortable with that will be attracted. On the flip side, if that's seen negatively, then the leader would say, oh, like, John, I can see you working a bit too many hours. Well, let's talk about how we can reduce that, what's going on here, and so on. And so, again, those people that like doing all the crazy hours and whatever, they would be repelled and so on. And so those are examples of values, like the belief on how much time you want people to spend and their work-life balance and so on, and the resulting impact on the behaviors, whether they work late, when they work late, whether they come in early, what time they leave, how they talk about that. Are they embarrassed that they work late, or are they proud and wearing it as a badge? All of those things come from those core values. Now, your brand is essentially how people, particularly external to your organization, would describe your business if it was a person, right? So is your business, would it be described as friendly or professional or serious or playful? Does it appear to sweat about the big the details, or does it kind of get lost in the big picture? Is it bold, or does it blend in? Does it bring energy or bring calm? Everything that your customer sees, hears, touches, even tastes when interacting with your business builds up that picture of your brand and values. Now, if your brand and values align to what a potential client or potential employee likes, then you'll create that strong attraction. As an example of this, a client of mine is a marketing agency who is all about the ROI they achieve for their clients. They talk about the numbers that they achieve. They're open about how geeky they are about that. They're untrustworthy of anything that just feels right. They want the data for everything. And their values and their brand project this in everything that they do. Now, Some of you listening would love a marketing agency like this. And if you do, then I recommend checking out Impactful Marketing, run by Dan Todd, #NotSpon, just a client of ours. However, for some of you, that won't be what you'd want. Perhaps you'd prefer a more heart-centered, personal touch marketing agency who focus on presenting your truest self and trusting that the universe will deliver if you show up with that deep sense of what's inside you and just expect the results to come. And there are agencies out there that do exactly that, and they would be for you. What you don't want is to pay big bucks for an agency that's just an agency. They don't appear to stand for anything in particular. They just provide a set of marketing services which they say are the best, without clarity on for whom they are the best. Now, when a business starts, perhaps whether it's a marketing agency or whatever, often that brand, those values come from the founder or founders. And my friend Chris Ducker talked about this in episode 112 of the podcast. He talked about the importance of leveraging your personal brand to build your business and how you can do that and why that's actually a really important thing to do. However, as you grow your team, you do risk diluting your values and your brand when you're less present in the business, where you yourself are a smaller percentage of the total people that are interacting with customers and interacting with new employees. And when you aren't in the building or in the meeting, how do you make sure that people still show up and demonstrate your values and your brand? Now, the common answer I hear to this is to just hire well. Hire people who demonstrate your values. And that is important. It's a really good start. One of the most common things I hear from experienced business leaders is that they wish that they had learned earlier that when you're hiring, try not to hire just for knowledge and experience, hire for values and cultural fit, and you can give them the knowledge and the experience over time. So hiring people that are a good fit for your values is a good start. But over time, any employee, even your best ones, will have good days and bad days. They will pick up bad habits. And there's no way that you'll magically find lots of employees who happen to behave, create, and serve in line with your values and your brand without any direction from you. Now, when Dan, people for his marketing agency, of course, he'll hire people who love data for their service roles and for the service roles in the business. But how will he make sure that his case studies and his email newsletters and sales emails and sales conversations and client reports are consistent in the way that they're done, that they do not dilute that brand? Because the people doing those things aren't necessarily the pointy-headed data people that he's got working in some of the service roles in the agency. He's having to hire, creative marketing people that are writing copy or HR people that are onboarding new team members. And yet you still want those core values around, in his case, that passion around the data and what's measured is real. Like that needs to be threaded through everything that is done. So how does he make sure that those people are able to do that even when he's not the one doing the interviews? Now, the answer is that you've got to thread that through. Those values, the brand, you've got to thread it through your processes, your training, your ways of working. It has to be all the way through them. Now, sometimes I think that's a difficult concept to grasp, so I'll use an example, but I could give hundreds of examples like this from my businesses and other clients we've worked with. But if I just take one of our core values, which is focus on impact, which means that we care most about the outcome of what we're doing, and we start there and then keep checking against this rather than getting lost in the doing, the activity. Now, to take that value, you can see there's numerous ways in which we could apply it. But if I give you some examples, so in our recruitment process, when we're potentially hiring someone, we ask really early on what the candidate has worked on recently that they're most proud of, and why. Now, what we're assessing for is not just that they worked on a cool thing or that they showed that they can do a thing. We want to see that they cared about the result. We're looking for their answer to explain why it mattered. If they just talk about, oh yes, and I was working on this little piece of detailed code, or, I had this really complex problem to solve. Like, if they were too deep in that and not thinking about the outcome, it means that they might be less of a fit for us. We want developers and HR people and marketing people and salespeople who are thinking about and love the output, the outcome that they created, the impact that they made, rather than getting too lost in the process. Now, that's a recruitment process, and one example from our recruitment process. There are others. If I take a different process, employee onboarding. So someone who we have decided, we're going to employ. Now, the very start of the onboarding checklist that we give them for them to follow, to get up to speed and be able to deliver values and so on, sets out the aim of the onboarding checklist. It explains to them that what we're trying to get them to be able to do. So through this onboarding, we're going to help you to do X, Y, Z so that you can deliver this particular part of your role. For example, in customer service, maybe it's so that you can start having calls with customers to do demo calls as a starting point, right? We're really clear on the outcome, and we make clear that it's okay to deviate through the process if they can get there faster. For example, if we give them 5 videos to listen to learn about how to do a really good job on the calls, but that because they happen to shadow another call, or they find a faster way or whatever, that's fine. Like, we're focused on the outcome that we want from them, and that they are encouraged, as part of our 4th core value of always look to improve, to make recommendations on how that process could be improved. So those are examples where just little things that go into our process that thread those values throughout. In our sales processes, we have questions that our team asks the customer that dig deep into the impact that we're trying to have. We don't just say, oh yeah, so how can we help? Instead, we're asking specifically, what are your personal goals? What are your business goals? What's the life-changing impact that we could potentially have? We're going really deep into understanding that, and then we're referring back to that in those sales conversations, in our projects with clients, referring to it as part of our customer success and so on, all focused on that. And we even have automated email campaigns for examples of where we've got customers that are using our software tool, AirManual. If we identify that they're not making as much progress as we'd like, they get emails that are asking them questions about the outcome that they're currently focused on and what they currently feel is the blocker and so on. Again, always focused on that impact. Even our finance and budget review processes start with a clear purpose on what really matters, so that we don't get too stuck into the details of the exact numbers and the calculations and variances and so on. So that's an example of one core value and a few processes, or a few examples of within processes where that's done. But all of our 5 core values are woven through our processes. Now, that can feel pretty daunting if you haven't done any of that. It's important to note that we didn't suddenly on day one have that. It took time, and we just wove them into each process as we developed, as it was a thing that we needed. When we were saying, oh, we're going to hire a couple of new people soon, okay, let's plan our recruitment process. What's that going to look like? How are we going to assess for the values? And we thread that in. Okay, great, we're getting close to the end of the recruitment process. We're going to onboard them soon. How are we going to make sure that they're getting up to speed quickly, and how do we make sure that our values are woven through that? So we do it piecemeal, and over time we've ended up with tens, hundreds of processes across the business that have got them embedded within it. Now, it doesn't stop there. It's not just about documenting and processes. It is about your ways of working and your meetings and the way you show up. All of our leaders and managers are encouraged to catch people doing things right, which I believe is a phrase perhaps first attributed to Ken Blanchard. And that's really important, because it's where catching people doing things right is essentially highlighting good practice. So rather than saying, oh, John, you've missed this step, or hey, Tracy, why hasn't this been done yet? Instead, it's the opposite. It's catching people doing things right. So it's, oh, I just want to recognize John. Well done. Thanks so much for keeping up to date on this particular task. Or Tracy, I noticed that for the last 4 weeks, you've kept this up to date. That's been absolutely fantastic. And doing that publicly, which means that the rest of the team understand what you value. They understand that the things that you're catching people doing things right and how they link to the values, it helps them understand this is what we want This is how we want to work. This is how we want to show up. This is what we value. This is our brand. This is the magic that we deliver. And when you do this right, your brand and your values are not just written on the wall, they're written on the hearts and the heads of your team. But to do that, you need them written into how you do things. Now, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found this topic useful, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the AirManual YouTube channel. And do subscribe to the De-Stress Your Business podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, to hear more from me and also experts that I managed to convince to share their deep insights and advice. We've got well over 100 episodes now of the podcast covering a huge variety of areas of best practice, whether it's everything from recruitment and onboarding and deeper on values and pricing and operational efficiency and scaling and building your business for sale and all these sorts of different areas. We like to go really deep into these topics to help give you that really tangible, practical guidance on exactly how to do it. One thing I should say is at the time of recording, we're fast approaching the summer, and I and my business partner, Paddy, who and also co-host this podcast, plan to take a month off from work and business and the podcast and so on. In my case, I'll be traveling with my family in our motorhome across a bit of Europe. But as a result, we don't want to leave you hanging for a month or more. So we're going to be preparing some special mini episodes to answer some very specific questions from our listeners. So if you've got any topics or questions that you'd like me or Paddy to go deep on in future, then please email alexis.kingsbury@airmanual.co or post on LinkedIn and tag me in. I'd really love that if you could share a post on LinkedIn sharing what your key takeaway or something you found useful from the episode or whatever, but also a question that you'd like me to cover in a future episode. That'd be really lovely to see. Just make sure you tag me in so that I have a chance of seeing it. But yeah, I hope you found those episodes useful. Over the next few weeks, we've got some more great expert guests, so don't miss those. But otherwise, until next time, have fun.